Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video. And before we get into today's video, I just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So now that we got that out of the way, this is a very special video. We're going to be doing this every week for the NFL season. We are picking games against the spread with special guest Joe Manniello of Newsday. Very excited to have him on. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. All right, now I'd like to welcome on Joe Manniello of Newsday, who's going to do the picks with us this year. Joe, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate you doing this with me. Let's start off with the New York Jets. So week one, playing Buffalo, a team that they're very familiar with. Obviously, they're in the division. They play them twice a year. Spread is 3 points. Jets are favored by 3. What are we thinking for week one with the Jets and Buffalo Bills?
I think this is going to be one of those games where it comes right down to the end. I think the Jets had a great offseason, and on paper, they appear to be the better team, but I think the Bills are underrated. And Sean McDermott's defense always shows up. And I kind of like Buffalo, actually, to pull this one out in a low-scoring, 20-17 kind of game. I think it's going to come down to a field goal. And you all know what the Jets' biggest problem this preseason was a kicking game. And I just have a feeling that, there's so much hype with the Jets right now. And I do think Darnold's going to have a big year with Gase. I think the Jets are going to compete for a wild card. But the more I think about this game, I just think that, it's a typical Jets fashion that they can have a little bit of a letdown after such a great offseason. So I kind of lean Buffalo. I mean, I think the Jets could win, obviously. But the spread is only 3. Which is basically a pick 'em when the home team is favored by 3.
Right.
And, I think Darnold's better than Josh Allen, obviously, but, he has that ability to scramble, prolong drives. And I think the Bills' defense is going to be the best unit on the field. And I think it'll be a close game. It's going to come down to a late field goal, whether, whichever team that is. And I'd like the Bills to win and,
Okay. For me, I get everything you're saying. I like Buffalo's defensive unit a lot. I'm not really too sure that I'm in love with their offense. I know they added a lot at the wide receiver position. Obviously, McCoy's out now, so they're going to have a little bit of a revamp there at the running back. I'm going to take the Jets in this one, Jets -3. I don't think the Jets sweep them this year, so hint to later weeks, but I like the Jets in week one. They tend to usually play well if you go back over the last 10 years or so, even when they, started and had pretty bad years. In 2014, for example, was a dumpster fire, but they played well and beat an Oakland team. So even in years gone by, and last year too, good example, they were a 4-12 team, got off to a hot start in week one. I like the Jets at home. I think Darnold has a really big day in his first game with Adam Gase. That's a connection that I'm going to be looking forward to a lot this year. I'm curious to see how both those guys tend to work together. But as far as week one stands, I like the Jets in this one, so I'm going to take Jets -3 in this game.
They actually play week 17 at Buffalo.
There you go. So,
which has been a problem for the Jets recently.
Yeah, we all remember 2015 and that disaster, and you know how tough it is playing there in late December, early January in the elements out there. So we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but I definitely circled that one on the schedule as a game that I'm nervous about.
Of course.
All right, so moving on now to the other New York team. We have the Giants playing the Cowboys in week one. Go figure, that happens all the time. Except this time it's not in prime time. They moved it up to 4:25. So Giants, unfortunately, taking a little bit of a step back on the field. So they're not going to be in that prime time slot. Cowboys are favored by 6 in this one. Who do you got, Joe?
Yeah, I like Dallas in this game, and I think the line will probably go closer to 7 by kickoff after Ezekiel Elliott got his deal this morning. But even without him, I would have taken the Cowboys. I think they have a ton of strength all over the roster. The defense is really good, great offensive line, a full season of Amari Cooper. They got Randall Cobb now to help Dak Prescott. Jason Witten's back. This young rookie, Tony Pollard, looks pretty good. I think he'll probably split the carries with Ezekiel Elliott in week one. And, these games are always, nail biters, but I just can't see the Giants scoring enough points to cover here. They're going to need, I think, in the low 20s to cover, because I think Dallas will get at least 24, 27 points. So I mean, without Golden Tate, who was probably the best receiver after Sterling Shepard, I guess, but I'm not sure about him because he was hurt in the preseason. And, they don't have Odell Beckham anymore, and I know a lot of fans are happy about that, but they're going to miss his talent on the field. And as great as Saquon Barkley is, he can only do so much. So I think the Giants, it's going to be a tough start for them. I like Dallas in this game.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there, Joe, especially with the re-addition of Ezekiel Elliott joining that team. I think that's going to make a huge difference. But like you said, even without him there, I still really like that Cowboys defense a lot, and I think the Giants are going to struggle offensively in this game. I know that they improved on the offensive line, and you brought in a guy like Golden Tate who isn't going to be playing, and hopefully have Saquon Barkley and Evan Ingram cooking on all cylinders. But at the end of the day here, this Cowboys defense is really tremendous, and I think they're going to be able to contain the Giants to, I don't know, maybe somewhere between like 13 and 17 points. So if, so if Cowboys putting up, 20 to 25, they should win and cover this game. I'm pretty confident in Dallas in week 1. Now, Joe, the game of the week, we both decide, obviously, Steelers at Patriots. Huge game for both teams. We know the Patriots usually tend to dominate the Steelers. It's their banner ceremony. Big spread, though, 7.5 for the Patriots. Who do you like in this one?
Is it that high? I thought it was 6. It went up that high, huh?
Why, when I look
7.5? Well, I like them at 6, so I definitely like them at 7.5. I think the Patriots will win, but I think it's going to be a close game the whole way, like a 24-20, 27-24 kind of game, prime time. I mean, the Steelers, I think they have a lot to prove. It's their first full year without Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, and Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner are definitely able to pick up the slack, and I think Roethlisberger will have a huge year, and they got this rookie Devin Bush who looks like a beast. So I think the Steelers they have something to prove early on this season, and I think the Patriots will do enough to win. It's Tom Brady. I've heard that their defense is like stacked. So Belichick. I mean, I think they'll do enough to win, but I don't think this is a blowout in any chance. A close game all the way. I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers actually win, but I'll take the Patriots to win and the Steelers to cover the big number.
Yeah, I'm with you too, Joe. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think you're looking at maybe a 3 to 5 point win for the Patriots. I do think at the end of the day they pull this off, but I just don't necessarily think they're going to be able to win by that big number at 7.5. Even if it was 6, like you said you saw it at, I would still take the Steelers in this one. I think it's going to be a tight game. I know the Browns have a ton of hype in that division. I am definitely on board with that, but I still think that Pittsburgh, even without Le'Veon Bell, even without Antonio Brown, they're still a team that's going to be very much in the mix and, a playoff contender potentially. So I think that they keep this game pretty close. I don't think the Patriots win by that big number.
All right, we agree.
Now let's do best bet of the week. So what is a game or a line that you look at and you say, okay, if I had to place one bet this week that I know that I'm confident in winning, which is that?
My original best bet was the Browns because I'm all in on the Browns this year. But then I thought, maybe just not, it's 6 points at home against the Titans, 5.5. And then I looked again, and I still love the Browns this week. I love the Cardinals. I love a bunch of teams. But I looked at a number that I went for the best value bet. And if you look at the lines, you go up and down the lines, there's one line to me that's off, and it's overreaction to the Andrew Luck retirement. The Colts were getting 3.5 against the Chargers, and now it's up to 6.5. And Jacoby Brissett obviously is not Andrew Luck, but he's a pretty good backup. And I think the whole team, the Colts have a ton of talent on both sides. A really good coach, Frank Reich. They made the playoffs last year. And if these teams, they're going to go into this game with that whole mantra, like no one thinks we can win without luck. Let's prove them all wrong in week 1. I think they might even beat the Chargers. So to get 6.5 points with a really good team against a Chargers team that is also very good, but always struggles early in the year and has absolutely no home field advantage playing in front of 30,000 people in that soccer stadium. So I think the Colts are my best bet of the week. I think it's going to be a close game the whole way. Might come down to a late field goal, and I wouldn't be shocked if they even won the game. So to get 6.5 points with a really good team, to me, it's just too much to pass up.
All right, Joe, for me, my best bet, you mentioned this team, you hinted at them already, the Browns, -6 against the Titans. I really like this Cleveland team a lot. I am buying into this hype. It's a home game. It's their first game of the year where they could put on display, the Freddie Kitchens led Cleveland Browns with Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, that high-powered offense. I think the Browns cover pretty significantly. I think this is a game they could win by 15, 20 points pretty easily.
Yeah, I like them a lot too, obviously, but I was just a little nervous because, for first game, maybe they had a little early jitters, whole new team and all, but I think they're going to win big too, but you never know.
Exactly. So how about an upset from you? Which game do you think could potentially be an upset?
I like a few upsets this week because it's week 1 and you got a lot of home underdogs. So a couple of them, I'll mention the main one, but I like the Cardinals to beat the Lions at home. First game with Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. I also think the Dolphins, believe it or not, even though they're one of the worst teams in the league, I think they might actually win that game because it's 90 degrees in Miami with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who usually plays well early on, and
that's true.
New coach. And Lamar Jackson, I don't know. I don't think he's going to have as great a year as he did in his early on when he subs in. So I think that's one of the few games the Dolphins can win. So those are 2 games to look at. But my main upset is the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, getting 3.5 or 4 around there. I like them to cover, obviously, but I like them to actually win the game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Jaguars, new quarterback, and Nick Foles. Last year, 2 years ago, they were in the AFC title game. They should have made it to the Super Bowl before they fell apart. They were up 20-10 in New England, and they followed it up with the most disappointing year of the entire NFL. They went 5-11. That young defense was humbled. I think they come back, especially in week 1, make a statement early on. And they're my pick to actually win the division. And I just think that the Chiefs are great, don't get me wrong. The Chiefs are much better than the Jaguars. But it's one of those things, week 1 at home against a team that, last year there was such a letdown. This is like an opportunity to play a team like the Chiefs and show everyone, hey, we're back to 2017. So I think the Jaguars win a close game, like a 27-24, 24-20 kind of game. I think Nick Foles has a pretty good game, and I think it's going to be a fun one.
Okay. All right. I know we mentioned this on Twitter. I'm pretty sure I got at you after you released your NFL preview. I'm not as high on Jacksonville as you are. We'll get into that in the division winners when we go through. I know you hinted at that a little bit, but I think I might surprise you with my division winner when we get to that. But for me, with my upset, I'm going with the Falcons on the road +4 against the Minnesota Vikings. I really like this Falcons team a lot. I think that they are going to bounce back big time this year and potentially push the Saints. I don't necessarily think that they're going to be able to finish above the Saints. I like that roster a little bit better, but I think this is a team where you're looking at a potential wild card spot. As for the Vikings, I just see them as like a middle of a road team, up and down. Kirk Cousins is way too inconsistent for me to buy into them. And I don't know. I feel like at home they could have an early letdown, and this Falcons team that would be a big statement win, being able to go out on the road and beat a team like the Minnesota Vikings in week 1. So that'll be my upset of the week.
Yeah, I like them to cover, and I also think they could win that game too. I like the Falcons a lot this year too.
Okay. So now that we ran through our picks, this is pretty much what we're going to do on a week-to-week basis. But since it is week 1, what we're going to do is go through each division and pick a winner, and then from each conference have our 2 wildcard teams, and we'll do a Super Bowl pick as well. So why don't we start with the AFC and the AFC East? Is there any way you can convince yourself that the Patriots don't take this division?
Yeah, early on in the summer I was thinking that the Jets could do it, but the more I thought about it, the more I looked at the Jets schedule early on, I can't see it. So I went the smart way. The Patriots own that division, and as long as Brady and Belichick are still there, I can't see them losing. Exactly.
I just can't pick against New England. They've done it time and time again. They've proved themselves, and until I actually see a decline, I am not going to be the one betting on the decline. So it's still the Patriots division, and we'll have to see from there. But I think it's another year of Belichick and Brady running this thing.
Yep.
How about the AFC North? Who do you see taking the AFC North?
I got the Browns. All in on the Browns this year. I think they're going to have a huge year. I have them actually going 12-4 and getting a first-round bye. So I think the Browns will win that division. Steelers will be tough. I have them right there with them, but I got the Browns winning the AFC North.
I agree with you. I think the Browns take the AFC North. I'm going to go, I'll say 11-5. I don't think they quite get to that 12-win plateau, but they are definitely a team that has a home playoff game in the wild card round for me. I really like what they did. I like their head coach in Freddie Kitchens. I like Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator. I was a big Baker fan coming out of college, and I think he had a great rookie year. They've gotten a lot of hype, but they have one of the deepest rosters in the AFC, and I just think that they have way too much talent to not win that division.
Yep.
How about the AFC South? I think we probably would have thought the Colts were a shoo-in, but now with the Andrew Luck retirement, who do you have taking the AFC South?
Well, I actually had the Jaguars even before Andrew Luck.
Okay.
So I had the Jaguars, and for the multiple reasons I just mentioned about the Chiefs pick. So I like the Jacksonville. I think Texans take a step back. Same thing with the Titans. They don't have enough offense, in my opinion. And believe it or not, I would not be shocked if the Colts were actually the biggest competitor, even without Luck, because of the whole, us against the world mentality. And
right. They
do have a really good team. So it's like, yeah, I know Andrew Luck is great, and it's a big drop-off, but Brissett, he's probably one of the best backups in the league, and I'm sure he's better than some of the starters. So I don't think it's that crazy to think they compete for the division. I don't think they get there. I think 9-7 wins that division. It's kind of a weird division. So I think whoever gets 9-7 might even come down to a tiebreaker. Pretty sure the Colts play the Jaguars in week 17. So who knows? It could even be a winning in kind of situation.
Right. I agree with one of the last points you made with saying that it could take 9 wins to win this division. I'm right there with you. And for a while, I was still thinking, all right, even without Andrew Luck, it's the Colts division. But I am a little bit higher on the Texans than you are. I really like Deshaun Watson. I think he's going to be able to maybe he won't win the MVP, but I think he'll be in the conversation as an MVP candidate this year. I'm going to go with the Texans at taking this division at something like 9-7, maybe 10-6. I like that offense. I know that they made a couple of trades and gave up a ton to improve on the offensive line, but I don't know, something about this team. I think even though Bill O'Brien's not the best coach and they are a little bit in flux with some of their decision making, I think that Deshaun Watson's too talented and he'll mask their holes, if you will. All right, so moving along now to the AFC West. We know Kansas City had a monster year last year. Do they take this division again, Joe?
Yeah, I think this is going to be probably one of the best divisions in the league. I got the Chiefs winning it, but I have the Chargers right on their heels, so I wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers win. I think the Broncos will be improved, and the Raiders, but I don't think the Raiders can compete. But yeah, I had the Chiefs winning it. I think when I went over, I had the Patriots, Browns, and Chiefs all at 12-4.
Okay.
But the Chiefs being like the 3 seed. So yeah, I think the Chiefs. I think Mahomes. You hear some people say, "Oh, just one season." Like I think this guy's going to be great for the next 10 years, and it's perfect offense for him. And I think they did lose some guys on defense, but they also brought some guys in, and they hired Spagnuolo as a DC. So I think the defense will be improved. Not great, but still improved. And I think they'll be just 12-4, 11-5 kind of team, and eke out against the Chargers, kind of similar to last year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This offense is just too high-powered for me to pick against them. Even if their defense struggles again, which I think they did some things to improve that defense, but I see them at like 12-4, probably getting a first-round bye. Just Pat Mahomes is just unbelievable. And Andy Reid, yes, we know he doesn't win in the playoffs or he hasn't been able to win the big game, but what he can do with his teams in the regular season is unbelievable. I think that they're going to have another really good year offensively. And to me, I think the Chiefs edge out the Chargers, but just barely. So I guess that brings us now to our 2 wild card picks. Who do you got as the 2 wild card teams in the AFC?
Yeah, so originally I was thinking the Jets could be one of the wild cards, but their first 6 games, it's such a tough schedule. I think they might go 2-4. So I don't know if they can overcome that. Even if they go 8-8 or 9-7, it's not going to be enough because the AFC has just too many good teams. So I have the Steelers and the Chargers as the final 2 wild cards. 2 teams who I think can win the division, but I'll put them at the wild cards, and also 2 dangerous teams who, like, if they get in, have the kind of, Roethlisberger, Rivers, tons of weapons. I think they could both make a run. So those are my two wildcard teams.
Yeah, I'm, again, right there with you. I have the Chargers as my 5 seed and then the Steelers as the 6 seed.
Me too. They're perfect.
So we're on the same page with the wild card teams, pretty much for the same reasons you said. Offensively, I think both of those teams, are right there as they're always in the mix, it seems, with Rivers and Roethlisberger. And defensively, I like what the Steelers do on the defensive side of the ball, and the Chargers with Bosa and Ingram. I think both those two teams, it sucks for them because they play in a tough division. Obviously, with the Browns, I think are going to be much improved, and the Chiefs, but they're going to have to, unfortunately, play on the road in the wild card against definitely a tough team. But I agree with you. Both those two teams are playoff teams in my mind. Now let's move over to the NFC, starting with the East. Who do you like in the NFC East?
NFC East I think it's going to be a battle all year between the Eagles and the Cowboys. I went back and forth on this, but I picked the Cowboys to win the division. I just love that defense and the offensive line, the run game. I think Prescott, I'm not a big Dak Prescott guy, but I think he takes a big step this year. Full season of Amari Cooper. Randall Cobb, I think, is going to have a bounce-back year. And I just think the Cowboys are like one of the most complete teams in the entire NFL. I think the Eagles are right there, too. So if the Eagles win, I wouldn't be shocked. But I picked the Cowboys around like an 11-5 kind of record.
Okay, I personally went with the Eagles. I think they're just a slightly better team than the Cowboys. I'm banking on Carson Wentz staying healthy.
That's why I was a little nervous about Wentz. Like, I mean, he's great, but I feel like his injury history is just a little shy of picking them to win the division, just because you never know with him. So that was one of the reasons why I also get the edge to the Cowboys. Yeah,
and there's no Nick Foles anymore to come in and save the day. So that might be a little bit tough if he does go down. We know Josh McCown is not at the same level as Foles is. But that team, and with Doug Peterson, if they all stay healthy, I think this is a team that could win 11 or 12 games. I really like this roster a lot. And like I said, I could see them being an 11 or a 12 win team if they all do stay healthy. How about for the NFC North? We know last year the Bears had a phenomenal year. Do you think they win that division again?
I do like the Bears again. Yeah, I actually picked them last year to make the playoffs as a wild card.
Okay.
When no one was giving them a chance, I just liked the hiring Matt Nagy, and I thought Trubisky would play well, and then they got Khalil Mack. So I think it'll be closer because I think the Packers improved. And you never know with the Vikings, but I like the Bears again. The defense is, to me, too good, and I think Trubisky's better than people think, especially in Nagy's system. And I don't think they're going to be a dominant team, but maybe like a 10-6 and hold up, maybe 11-5, but hold off the Packers and win that division.
See, I have the Bears at 10-6 and missing the playoffs. I don't think they win this division. I think the Packers come back reloaded and they win this thing. Maybe like an 11-5 or 10-6, but they have a tiebreaker. I really like what the Packers did this offseason, and I think Aaron Rodgers has a lot to prove this year. He, over the last couple of years hasn't been that great in Green Bay. Things have gone wrong. They fired their coach, new system, but I like the Packers. I think they win this division and are playing on Wild Card Weekend. Let's go to the NFC South. You picking the Saints again to win this thing, or do you like another team?
No, I actually like the Falcons a lot.
Okay.
The Saints were I picked last year to win the Super Bowl against the Chargers before the year. And, we all know what happened to them in the title game. But I like the Falcons a lot. I think last year they probably would have made the playoffs or been closer to making it. The entire defense didn't get hurt. Basically, the whole secondary got hurt in the first month and a half. And I think with the healthy defense and head coach Dan Quinn taking over for the defensive play calling, which is his bread and butter from Seattle. I think that plus, the offense has a ton of weapons, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Mohamed Sanu, Matt Ryan, obviously, Devontae Freeman. I think the Falcons, as long as sometimes Quinn makes some questionable decisions, back to that crazy Super Bowl against the Patriots that they blew. But I think the big bounce back year for them, I have them going like 11-5. I'm pretty sure I picked, then winning the division.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Saints. I was high on them last year. Believe it or not, my preseason Super Bowl pick was the Saints over the Patriots. So I was pretty upset with that NFC Championship game because I was so close to getting that Super Bowl prediction right. But I think this team has a chip on its shoulder. We know they have talent. Drew Brees, 40 years old now, getting up there in age, but he still is able to do it. Michael Thomas with his new deal, well-deserved. Alvin Kamara, that offense is high-powered. I think even defensively, they're a little bit underrated too. I think there's a really well-rounded team, and I think they take this division and probably are the 1 seed again.
Okay.
Moving along to the NFC West, we have the Rams, who took it last year and went on to play in the Super Bowl. Do they win this division again, Joe?
Yes. I mean, I think the Rams have a lot to prove after scoring 3 points, which is still shocking to believe.
Yeah.
After they put up 30 points a game, basically, ever since Sean McVay took over. So I think they have a lot to prove. I think the Seahawks are probably the second best team, but I don't think they'll be good enough to win the division. I think I had the Rams at only 10-6, but I could see them being 11-5. They have too much talent on both sides, and they play 4 games against the Cardinals and Niners. And I don't know, Niners, you want to believe they're better, but you never know with Jimmy G, and it's just a lot of hype. So you got to see it first to believe it. So I got the Rams at 10-6, 11-5 kind of season, and hosting the playoff game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think 11-5 is pretty fair for this Rams team. Like you said, a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Defensively, maybe a little bit an older unit, I guess, on the defensive side of the ball, but this is still a team with a lot of talent. I think they have enough to beat out the Seahawks, who I also have right in the mix, but I think this is still the Rams division. I have a hard time picking against them.
Yeah.
How about for your 2 wild card teams? Who do you have making the playoffs?
So, one of the wild cards is easy pick, Eagles, because like I said, I thought they could win the division.
Right.
And they could win the Super Bowl, so that was an easy wild card pick. And then the other one, I went back and forth between Seahawks and Packers. I originally set my picks in for the paper with the Seahawks.
Okay.
And then the more I thought about it, I said, let me go with the Packers. I just like the moves they made. Like you said, Rodgers, new coach. No more Mike McCarthy drama. I think he has a big year. So I took the Packers as the 6th seed. And I actually do not have the Saints, believe it or not. I just think that, listen, they're a super talented team. If they make even if they make the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be shocked because they have all the pieces. I just think that back-to-back years, the way they've lost. 2 years ago, divisional round, the Minnesota Miracle meltdown thing, and then last year with the no call and the pass interference. To me, it's just like, it's a lot to overcome, and I don't know. I think that might take a toll on them, but it could be wrong.
Okay, I certainly understand the logic behind it. That, like you said, that is a tough way to lose a game in back-to-back years. Just unbelievable stuff. Couldn't believe that happened. But for me, I have the Seahawks and the Cowboys as my 2 wild card teams. I think the Cowboys, like you said, you took them to win the division. I think they're going to push the Eagles all along, and they'll probably be like, I don't know, I would say like an 11-5 5th seed. With the Seahawks, to me, they're a team where like everyone's predicting like, okay, they lost so many pieces on the defense. Like, when did they take this step back? But they haven't. And with Russell Wilson still at the helm, he is one of the most elite quarterbacks in the league. I think they're going to be able to do just enough on offense, and I think that they still, they made the trade for Jadeveon Clowney. It's probably just a 1-year thing, but that's a phenomenal piece off the edge there. I like this team. I think they'll probably be around 10-6 in the 6th seed. That's leaving off, though, the Bears and the Falcons. I don't think either of those 2 teams make the playoffs. I think they both finish around 9-7 or 10-6, but I think tiebreakers are the difference, and it'll be the Cowboys and Seahawks in the playoffs.
Okay.
How about Super Bowl, Joe? What are you thinking?
All right, so Super Bowl is a little bit of an out there pick.
Okay.
I have the Browns over the Chiefs in the AFC title game, a repeat of the Mayfield Mahomes epic college battle.
Okay.
And then in the NFC, I have the Cowboys either over the Eagles or the Rams, depending on the seeding. It'd be great to see them play the Eagles, but I don't know if it'd be possible with the seeding.
Right.
But so I got the Browns and Cowboys in the Super Bowl, which I think will be a really fun game. And I have the Browns. I'm all in on the Browns this year.
Wow.
Mayfield. I think he's going to win the MVP in the regular season and Super Bowl MVP. I think Beckham's going to have a huge year. I think offense. I even made a statement on Twitter. People was telling me I'm crazy. I think they can be the first team in NFL history to score 30 points in every game. I think the way the NFL is now, with the offense is scoring a lot of points and the flags, I think that Freddie Kitchens is an offensive mind. Just chuck the ball. They have so many talented players on offense. If they score 30 points a game, I would not be shocked every game. And I think they're gonna have a huge year. I think the defense is stacked. They got another former Giant with something to prove, and Olivia Vernon.
Right.
Miles Garrett's a beast. Denzel Ward is a great cornerback. They got tons of pieces, and there's this whole narrative about how there's too much drama, or you can't believe the hype, or let's see it happen first. There's too many egos in that room. I don't buy it at all. I think they got a huge year, and I got the Browns over the Cowboys in a shootout.
Okay, that would definitely be a fun game. I'd be all in on that Super Bowl. For me, I have my AFC Championship game is going to be the Patriots and the Browns. And I think the old guard gets them one more time. I think the Patriots move on to the Super Bowl. I know, boring pick, they always make it. But like I said, for the division winners, I just can't pick against them yet until somebody proves otherwise. I think the Browns' Cinderella run ends at the AFC Championship game. So from the AFC, I have the Pats. I have in the NFC, I have the Saints over the Eagles.
Same pick as last year.
Same pick. I'm doubling down on my pick, Joe. I am going to pick the Saints. I think they vindicate their demons, if you will. I think that they ride this narrative that they should have been there last year. They play with that chip on their shoulder, and I think that they get it done this year, and they end up finally winning. They win that Super Bowl, and they beat the New England Patriots in definitely a much more entertaining game than last year's Super Bowl. I would say probably, I don't know, somewhere like 34-31, a tight game with a little bit of a high scoring. But I'm going with the Saints again this year, and hopefully they prove me right.
If the Saints make the championship game this year, they'll get a pass interference call against them on defense, and then denied the trip.
Or the new challenge rule will come back to bite them somehow.
Yeah, imagine that. Oh my God, that'd be crazy.
Could you imagine? But Joe, I want to thank you for coming on. This was a lot of fun. We're going to do this each week.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.